Ladies and gentlemen, gaming has transcended all cultural touchpoints, including music, movies, sports, learning, and acts, as a space for players to hang out and play together in the metaverse. This convergence of gaming and social engagement presents a new future for brands and consumers to engage in virtual environments, and one that marketers just cannot afford to ignore. For to be disclosed in this panel, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Mrs. Christy Tumor, Managing Partner at Marsa Vietnam, and the panelists.
Okay, so hello everyone. A big topic we're tackling today. I think over the past year or so, there's been 3 topics that pretty much every client I interact with is talking about. We've got e-commerce, we've got rap, and then we've got gaming. And today we'll be exploring how gaming is shaping the future of modern marketing. So we're going to be talking about things like the metaverse, about how some of our leading brands in the industry are getting involved with gaming, how maybe some of the formats and the value exchange might evolve in the future. We've got lots to think about on the panel today. Unfortunately, I'm joined by 3 very smart people from 3 different sectors of the industry, so hopefully it will be an interesting discussion for everyone. So before we jump in, let me just do some quick introductions. I'm Kirsty, I'll be moderating the panel today. I'm Managing Partner and Head of Strategy and Product at Mindshare Vietnam. I'll pass over to Hung Ta, Tom and Anik to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Kirsty. I'm very happy to be part of the panel today. My name is Hương Ta. I am Media and Digital Hub Director at Unilever Vietnam. Prior joining Unilever, I've been with Samsung and Friesland Campina Vietnam. Together with amazing colleagues today, I hope that audience find our sessions informative and useful.
Thanks. Tom?
Thanks, Kirsty. Hi, everybody. Big day there in Vietnam. Can I just say Chúc Mừng Năm Mới, because I understand you all have your freedom today and it's kind of like a new year. I'd also like to point out that I'm taking the panel very seriously and I'm wearing an Atari t-shirt anyway, so I'm really living the gaming dream. So I'm hoping to chat about this with a bunch of smart people. Looking forward to it.
Great, thanks Tom. Anik?
Hi everyone, thanks Kirsty. So my name is Anik Sayed. I am the Deputy Managing Director at Publicis Media. And I'm happy to be part of this panel and discuss on a topic which is very close to my heart, which is gaming. So excited to contribute.
Awesome, thank you everyone. Okay, so let's jump in straight into our hot topic, gaming. So as per the introduction, we're focusing on the future today, the future of the gaming landscape, which, as we all know, is changing very quickly, especially here in Vietnam. One of the words we keep hearing about is the metaverse. And Google tells me that it's the tech sector's hottest buzzword right now, and that companies are pouring millions of dollars into its development. Mark Zuckerberg is out there betting on it as the next great leap in the evolution of the internet. So Tom, I wonder, as one of our resident gaming experts, could you please start by just explaining to us exactly what is this metaverse we keep hearing about? And what stage are we at with it here in Vietnam? Like, what does it mean for us here?
Okay, absolutely. Metaverse, such an interesting topic and tons to unpack. I'd say at the top line, the metaverse is simply the 3D successor to the modern internet. So you can think of the metaverse as being the transition from Web 2. So Web 2 was an era of the internet that was defined by social media, social growth, and centralized platforms. And the metaverse, or Web 3, is defined by decentralized platforms and really driven by gaming. So Web 3 is the era of gaming. I think there's a bit more in there. I can put a bit more color around it. So the metaverse is a shared, persistent, virtual 3-dimensional space or series of virtual spaces that you experience as an avatar or a digital version of yourself. So 3D is really important because it makes it more like the real world. I think as much as I love scrolling through feeds of other people's pictures on Instagram or whatever, actually it's much more sociable and human to be hanging out in a 3D space. Shared, I mean, we'll share that space to do everything from shopping to playing. That's why gaming is so important, working, earning, everything will happen in that shared space. Persistent is really important because when we leave it, it doesn't go away. Our friends will still be hanging out there and we'll go back to meet up with them again in the metaverse. And then that concept of the digital version of ourselves, the avatar, is also super important. We get into lots of other lovely topics there like NFTs, but much more than social profile pictures, those NFTs will become our identity. We can think about that as identity 2.0. And for that identity, we'll want to buy lots of other things, houses, art, luxury goods. So in many ways, Web3 represents a shift from buying things online to buying online things. So big changes for brands. And the final thing that I just want to cover is a lot of people will have seen the pictures of Mark Zuckerberg with VR goggles strapped to his face. I don't think that's the metaverse, and that's not what the metaverse is going to be. Nobody wants to walk around with virtual reality goggles strapped to their face. That sounds horrible. I think the metaverse will be on phone screens, laptop screens, screens on our houses, smart devices, augmented reality, lots of places, and it will exist in a mix of physical and digital spaces. So hopefully that helps, although tons of buzzwords in there, but difficult to get away from that when we're talking about something so new.
Sure. Wow. So yeah, it sounds huge. I'm certainly enlightened. So thank you, Tom. So with that said, so let's move a little bit to talk about Vietnam and the brands that we have here in Vietnam and how some of them are starting to maybe take advantage of some of these changes that you just talked about and the evolution. So I'd like to pass to Hung Ta now and ask you, so obviously your background, you have experience across kind of low involvement categories like FMCG, as well as high involvement categories like electronics. So from your perspective, could you just share your opinion and a few tips around how you see brands in Vietnam at the moment, considering how to use gaming in their marketing plans? Kind of what tips and what point of view do you have on that?
Wow. Thank you very much for the interesting questions, Kirsty. I'm wondering if you are in touch with my CEO actually, because once I was asked by her with the same kinds of the questions. Exactly what would be the role of game in our communication strategies? For us as the marketeers, part of our job to connect with our consumer wherever they are. Then it is, as the Tom says, and also the Vietnam gaming data, it is undeniable that gaming is a perfect platform for brand awareness and also engagement at scale. At the same time, we hear a lot with very normal terms, for example, like in-game banner, e-sport, merchandising, gamifications, and now metaverse. But for marketeers like us, how should brand actually participate into it? It is kind of lost. In my opinions, I would say that perhaps we can, look into that as two kinds of the aspect. The first one, traditionally, we start from the consumer. But for us, we can look into do they play game? Do they watch game? So we define the role whether they are the viewer or players. Then choose the right gaming environments to communicate with them. The second aspect would be perhaps we should categorize the type of the game execution that the brand can blend in. So in my opinion, I would categorize it into advertising, simple digital media inventories for brand awareness. Second, it would be the sponsorship for brand exposure, brand associations. And the third will be gamifications with the in-game content branded and also branded content out of the game. The fourth, it would be about the commerce, in-game transaction, O2O, and also the merchandise activities. The last will be innovation. It is something like Tom shared earlier. And recently in Vietnam, we can see that the game fee, it sounds like something is very exciting. It is the combination between game and finance. NC Infinity is one of the game has been created by Vietnam companies, and it is very popular for this area as well. So I think it doesn't matter whether our brands can be so high or low involvement categories, as long as we can choose the right gaming executions based on the communication objectives, and it should work for us.
Okay, interesting. So the point of view is actually, yeah, regardless of the category and the brand, there's actually sort of some key factors that everyone should be following, thinking about the audience, thinking about what type of integration you want. Do you want gamification? Can you link with e-commerce? And how do you innovate? I guess kind of 5 areas that's quite useful for other brands to consider.
Right.
Anique, so obviously you represent quite a wide portfolio of brands, different clients at Publicis. So could you share a bit about, I guess, your experience recently around interaction with clients, and how do you see your sort of clients and brands evolving to kind of address the shifts in the industry and kind of take advantage of all these new opportunities that seem to be coming our way through gaming?
Yeah, of course. I think Tom and Hung Ta, they covered a lot in terms of what gaming is all about and what's happening in Vietnam. I will give you some understanding from a media standpoint, and especially from a different category standpoint. I think gaming in Vietnam, or maybe at a larger level regionally, can be looked at from a volume and value standpoint. I think volume wise, you have mobile gaming, where you have a large volume of audiences who are playing games on mobile, and it's just another leisure activity that competes with the likes of video viewing or social media. On the other hand of the spectrum, you have value, which is hardcore gaming. You have the likes of consumers who own consoles, who own PCs, who own other kind of merchandise from games. And I think that's a separate category of audience. So brands need to clearly understand how they want to capture which audiences. And right now, currently in Vietnam, we are seeing a lot of brands leverage social media and run mini games. So mini games has become one of the most engaging formats on social media platform. It's not really a game, but it's actually tapping into the critical insight of consumers, that they're looking to, have some level of entertainment, which is beyond just, communication. So it's moving towards that space. And therefore, we also see some of our clients like TCP, which is Red Bull, and Warrior, and these kind of players actually moving into the esports and targeting those value-based gamers who are really spending a lot of their time, and it's become part of their lifestyle. So that's the way we've been treating all of this, and I'm very excited for the metaverse. I think brands have huge opportunities in that space in the near future. A lot of brands have already started doing this. I mean, you see with the likes of Fortnite that happened with the Samsung entire skin, which is now considered to be the most exclusive skin in the game, and everyone is trying to get their hands on it. So these kind of activities and the level of loyalty that you see from gamers is unparalleled. So it's exciting times, and yeah, brands need to make sure that gaming is part of their conversation. But which gamer are they talking to? I think that's really important to classify.
Yeah, I think that's so true. The valid points, like gamification as a behavior is something that is so universal now, whether it's from, someone just interacting briefly with a mini game for that micro moment of entertainment, to then the value gamers that you talk about that are so kind of hardcore into the gaming and really engaged. But so obviously, I guess with that said, there's such a huge spectrum of how brands can get involved in Vietnam. But what we so there's big opportunities, right? But what we kind of see is that the people are there, the habit is there, the opportunities are there, but we don't necessarily see the media dollars following as quickly as we see the people. So, I mean, and that's quite normal, right? Like there's a lot of hesitancy around new things. Brands need to get comfortable with the idea. But I wonder if we could just talk a little bit about what the barriers are to kind of clients getting more involved and spending more money in gaming. And Anique, obviously, I think you've got experience the agency side with multiple clients. Kind of what experience do you have from your clients? Like what are the hesitancies? What are the barriers and challenges that you're facing and kind of that are stopping people from investing more heavily?
I think gaming at the moment is competing with the likes of video and social platforms. I think that itself is one of the biggest barrier, because in terms of scale, yes, gaming is growing, but it's still not at the scale of social and video. The other thing is that for advertisers and for brands to make their communication relevant in the gaming space poses a big challenge, because not all your communication can be customized or created for that particular environment. And that is the reason why we start seeing lower rates of engagement. And finally, I think some of the advertisers recently, what we have been trying to do is on the format itself. So when you're talking about gaming, you have a huge number of publishers, which is aggregated by a few partners. But then again, you're limited in terms of formats, what you can do with the game in itself, and you're just running your regular communication as a banner or as a video on that particular game, which is not giving you really good results. So these are some of the barriers we are experiencing. However, these are changing. I think a lot of aggregators in the market, or a lot of in-app publishers in the market are bringing us newer solutions, and they're trying to strengthen their relationship with these developers. And hopefully in the next upcoming, maybe a couple of years, we will see a lot more in this space, and then gaming can stand up to the likes of social and video platforms.
Interesting. I guess I kind of want to put the same question to Hung Ta. So Anik's talked from his experience, obviously agency side, but obviously you are personally in control of brands, and you've got a lot of experience from having controlled brands across multiple categories. So have you sort of seen those similar barriers and challenges in the past, or are you facing other challenges when you consider kind of how much to invest in gaming from sort of your previous experience?
So thanks, Kirsty and Anik. I'm very much enjoying to these kinds of the conversations. I would like to build further from the point that Anik shared earlier. Let's say first, talking about the when the brand invests into something, they will think about the business and the brand impact first. With something that we invested heavily, it means that we cannot wait until the time that we finish 3 months or 4 months of the campaign, and then we know who is perform or not perform in terms of the brand associations. We need something that can help us to measure an ongoing optimization toward the business and brand impact, not just only media return on investment. That's first. The second thing is about the gamification. Who doesn't want to do it? As the marketeers, is it exciting? Now, when it comes into the board meeting, we are saying that we need to demonstrate a very strong business case. Why we need multi-year investment commitment? Because we cannot do gamification without long-term plan. And the last point is about the gaming commerce. Super exciting as well. But at the same time, how we can ensure the seamless experience for the gamer from in-game into the shop and vice versa, without increasing in terms of the cost to serve and protect the profitability. So that is some, the top 3 barriers that I could, share in this forum. I'm looking forward to, have the support from the gaming expertise like Tom, and also from Anik and Kirsty, to see how we can, shape the industry, thought leadership on this.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue. Thank you, Hung Ta, because after Anik and yourselves sharing around kind of some of those barriers, you mentioned things around like, how do we prove the impact for brands? How do we prove the business return on investment? How do we, I guess, think about linking into commerce? Like, there's some challenges there. So Tom, I wanted just to pass to you now, obviously on the vendor side. How are you thinking about kind of meeting these future requirements from brands? Like, what type of new products are you looking into? How are you looking to sort of, I guess, overcome some of the challenges that are stopping people from investing more?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved Anik and Hung Ta's answers around, what the challenges are. And I just want to kind of jump into that just a little bit, because I think there's something that's very clear to me around gaming, and that's that, there's a consumer insight to to what's going on and to how gaming operates. In that at one end, you've got mobile gaming, which is, really just a kind of a high reach channel. Consumers who are playing mobile games don't think of themselves as gamers. I mean, so one of the biggest audiences playing mobile games is mums. I mean, they don't really think of themselves as gamers. And then at the other end, you've got, people who make gaming part of their identity, that identity word again, but that's consumer insight. And, and need to be talked to and approached as if they are gamers. And I think brands can take from that there are two really simple approaches to gaming. I think at one end, you can just use gaming as a mass media channel to deliver, video reach within mobile games, and that's really, really effective. And then at the other end, if you want to deep dive, do something that, responds to the needs of, speaks to gamers, then, you can build a deeper strategy around gaming. And I think that what some brands think is that the only way of getting involved with gaming is to build a really deep and complex strategy around gaming. Actually, it's not. You can just use gaming as a mass reach channel. And it's really similar to what we saw with social media. I think we're probably all of us here were there at the beginning of the social media era, where we kind of thought that the only thing to do with social media was viral campaigns. I mean, we all wanted to go viral and do influencer stuff. And if we think where we are now with social media, primarily brands use it, and quite rightly, as a high reach, high attention channel to reach audiences at scale with, with quality targeting. And you can do the same thing in gaming. So it doesn't have to be really really complex. And I think that's for me is the biggest part of that. So thinking about what's coming next in gaming, that's what I'd love to see, is to us, for us to kind of understand the simplicity of it.
Okay, so I guess, so just based on following on from Tom, you're sharing that actually there are, I guess, different ways that brands can use gaming, right? High reach, mass reach channel versus kind of high engagement. I guess just to Anik and Hungta, kind of how do you, I guess, Anik, do you see more brands looking at it now as like a high reach platform, or are you still having those conversations with clients around how we can do something more in depth? Kind of where do you think the clients in Vietnam are currently at around that?
So maybe I would like to go first for these questions. I didn't mention earlier because go with the high reach in the media inventory is something that it has been doing in Vietnam already, and then it becomes the norm. It just always the matter. It is about brand safety, and then you also see the environment in Vietnam when it happened in the January of 2021. We have the limited gaming inventories because of the regulation. Even the brands and marketings really want to utilize that kind of the medium for our marketing campaigns.
So yeah, just to build on Hungta's point, I think she's absolutely right. I think gaming has been part of our media inventories. It's just that we are seeing, like Tom mentioned, there's a lot of buzz around gaming as a platform, and I think advertisers are now asking the question, what next, right? So I think we will be seeing more and more advertisers starting to make relevant messaging around gaming, but it's going to take some time, and I fully agree with Tom. Later on, we will see this evolution in terms of gaming being a more reach platform for those volume audiences who don't really consider themselves as gamers, but are available on that platform for that engagement.
I think, Anik, those are really good points. And I think just to kind of, you were talking about what's next, and I know that was your real question, Kirsty, which I didn't answer, which is naughty of me. So I'll try and give a little bit. I mean, I think there are two big things that are coming next, and it's kind of understanding what's going on in gaming. So, gaming is, gamers, people in games don't like, non-interruptive advertising is better. It's all about value exchange. So I think the first one is brands and marketers really understanding the power of value exchange advertising. So within games, video ads tend to be delivered as rewarded. So a consumer, runs out of lives, wants some new lives or points, and has the opportunity to get those for free because a brand steps in and pays for it by, with an ad, or they can pay for it themselves. So, I mean, lovely for the consumer because they have the choice. They can either pay or take the advertising. Very different to, in a kind of video environment where you might have an ad pushed in front of you and you don't have a choice. So I think that value exchange is really, really important, and brands and marketers getting their head around that, and then where they can take value exchange. I think the second one in terms of non-interruptive is native in-game advertising. So ads that appear as posters within virtual worlds. And if we think about what the metaverse looks like, where potentially we're walking around in a virtual world and there are posters on the walls, technology to actually dynamically fill those poster spaces programmatically with relevant brands. I mean, it's digital virtual out of home, and it's a fantastic and non-interruptive way for brands to take advantage of the opportunity around gaming and the metaverse.
Awesome. It sounds like something out of Minority Report, doesn't it? It sounds like what we see in all of those futuristic films, but it's coming, right?
Yeah. It's absolutely, it's around the corner.
I think that's a lovely point that you made about the value exchange, though. I guess regardless of the changes that we see in gaming and I guess the different formats that are available, figuring out that value exchange and what is it that the brand can do that is seen as positive and valuable and, like you say, not too disruptive for the audience. I think that feels to me like such a good thing to hold on to, regardless of how you're getting involved in gaming, where you're doing it. Like, think about what that value exchange is. Right, so we're coming to the end of the panel, and just before we wrap up, I wanted to throw out one final question to you all around kind of, there's been so many radical changes in the industry across the world, especially with the pandemic driving up all the in-home entertainment and huge consumption. So I wanted to throw the question at you. What is the craziest thing that you have seen in the gaming industry this last year? And just to start off, I'll share from my side, the craziest thing that I saw was actually from our team in China for KFC. And I don't know if you guys have seen this example, it's been doing the rounds at the awards, but they actually took their in-game mascot from the League of Legends, Colonel KI, and like transformed him into this like fully fledged brand ambassador with his own social feeds. He traveled to other events. He even like launched a fashion brand in China. So he sort of took him out of his gaming environment and made him kind of this mascot for the brand. Which I think just shows like how hugely popular and how gaming is transcending outside of the gaming environment. So for me, that just seemed crazy. But from you guys, I guess Tom, then Anik, then Hung Ta, what are the craziest things that you've seen, just to finish up the panel?
Okay. I mean, I would use the example of Axie Infinity, but Hung Ta's already brought that up. Axie Infinity is just crazy. And if you haven't looked at it, dig into it. And also, I own a Mystic Axie. So I love Axie Infinity. But something that I think is super cool that I've seen is the Ariana Grande concert held within Fortnite. And what that really brought home to me is the power of that gaming environment, the sociable nature of that gaming environment, but also the freedom of that gaming environment to do whatever you want. I mean, Ariana Grande was flying around, she was walking out into the audience and singing songs with the audience around her who are all standing there as their digital avatars. And it was just this, just incredibly social, authentic, just, brilliant experience, unlike anything I'd seen before. So that's the craziest thing I've seen.
Awesome, thanks. Anik?
Yeah, I think, we keep thinking about what is the thing in the gaming environment, what has changed things in the last 1 year. But I think gaming as a category, in my opinion, is one of the categories which is capable of breaking the internet. So you have this term that, something happens in globally and that really breaks the internet. Everyone starts talking about that. I think we've seen a few events over the last couple of years. One of them being the launch of Sephiroth in Super Smash Brothers. Then we saw Keanu Reeves coming for Cyberpunk. Those were some of the within the gaming industry. From a brand standpoint, I think we all remember about, I think the KFC idea that you spoke about was amazing. But talking about League of Legends, I think when League of Legends went mobile, I think it was December of last year when they launched the Wild Rift game on mobile. I think that for me was the highlight of the year, because I'm a big League of Legends fan. And for me to have the convenience of not playing on a PC and moving to a mobile phone, I think that for me was the big highlight of the year.
Awesome, thank you. So Hungta, just to finish up.
You know what? It is super difficult for me because Tom mentions a lot about the NC Infinity already. But for me, I would say that the craziest thing that I learned in this years about gaming is that half of the top 10 game in Vietnam actually has been produced by Vietnam companies. And also including the Axis Infinity that Tom, love about it. So for me, that means that huge opportunities and potential for all of the marketeers in Vietnam when we think about, the gaming in Vietnam itself, and then how we can leverage the powerhouse, the power, of the gaming studio productions in Vietnam later on for our marketing activities.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Lovely way to wrap up our panel for Vietnam.
I double down on that. I mean, Hung's absolutely right. Vietnam is a powerhouse in the world of gaming, and there's a huge opportunity for brands to take advantage of that. It's a great point, Hung.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, well, we've run out of time, everyone. So with that said, I will thank all three of you for all of your interesting and valuable discussion today. Thank you so much. I hope everyone listening found it useful, got some extra knowledge, food for thought about how gaming might help shape the future of your own marketing strategies. So with that said, I'll close the panel and thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your moderator, Mrs. Chrissy Turner, and all the panelists for your wonderful sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, and the next part of our program today is a report by What's an MMA Vietnam.